This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Silas Weir Mitchell about Detained. How are you, Silas?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm curious what you're supposed to say to people about this film, because there's a lot that you're supposed to find out once you watch.
Yeah, I haven't been given the cheat sheet or a rundown on what's what the line is, what the talking points are. Because it is, I mean, there's some twists for sure.
What appealed to you about it, about the script?
Well, it was, the thing that appealed to me was that the script was in Felipe's hands, the director, Felipe Mucci. Just a really smart guy. I watched a brilliant short that he made about uh, the I think it was in Argentina. I mean, it was maybe in Brazil or Argentina. It was um, the beginning of a coup, and it takes place all in one apartment build one apartment room, and it's just incredibly well structured and incredibly well done. Um, and I met with him, and the script was super twisty and turny, and I just felt like it would be really he would be great for it. And Abby being involved was a big draw for me, because I think she's great and good to see her, back doing some stuff. And I just wanted to I wanted to play in this incredibly strange world where nothing is as it seems.
And a similar use of space to what you're talking about, where it doesn't really leave the, police station, that we get to see
Yeah,
just
that's right. That's
how
right.
that space itself can be sort of treacherous.
That's right. That's right. And it reminded me also of Glengarry Glen Ross in that way. I mean, there is the scene in the restaurant that they do in the movie, but you know, um, a lot the pressure builds when you're stuck in one space, and this is definitely a pressure cooker of a story.
There's also a lot of intensity to the exchanges. Was there a lot of, long rehearsal process, and did things change when you were going through that in terms of the specific lines?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. There wasn't a lot of rehearsal per se, at least for me anyway. There may have been some for some of the more advanced sort of fight stuff, just to get that something of that under their belts before we actually got to the day we were shooting it. Um, there was a lot of work because it's so fine tuned that there was a lot of let's be really careful how we frame this or phrase this on the day so that we make sure that we're staying true to the ultimate end. So it wasn't so much rehearsal or rewriting per se that I felt. It was more like just being really clear while you were shooting it to like make sure that you were not that as it was written it had it because you write something that is this sort of filigreed almost in terms of plot. When you get boots on the ground, you realize that sometimes those fine elements need a kind of a different approach. You need to tweak them a little bit to compensate for like actually what would be a real world scenario. So there was a lot of massaging of the text to make sure that it cohered, properly.
It's great to see a lot of other actors in the cast, like Rita Wool, Justin H. Min, Moon Bloodgood, just people I feel like I've seen a lot, but I
Yeah,
don't exactly know what like the specific role that I remember them from is. But it's
yeah.
it's nice just to have such a stacked ensemble like this.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, that's really true. Like a lot of folks that it's like, I know that guy, a lot of that guys, and
Well,
gals,
there is
that guy.
well, there is that book called Hey, It's That Guy, which I think is, a great look at just what a lot of people, and I think you're a great example of somebody who,
Yeah.
as soon as I knew I might be talking to you, I thought about 24. And I always remember when I think about 24, I sort of stretch out the roles to longer than they were. I think you were in
Oh
five
yeah.
episodes.
I
But
was
like
not in a
Michael
lot of that. Yeah.
but Michael O'Neill, I remember him so strongly. He was in 2 episodes of the show. Like it wasn't such a strong thing, but because that's when I first came into being interested in TV and movies, like that
Hmm.
is a huge, big part of, just what I remember. Does 24 occupy a big space in your memory?
Not so much in my memory. I just recognize the fact that it was, I think part of the effect you're describing is due to the fact that the show itself was an absolute phenomenon. Now that the overarching piece that it was such a cultural thing that all the elements of it in our recollection of it sort of take up more space. Just because the thing was, it was. I mean, I was in the first season. I think I was in, yeah, like you said, 4 or 5 episodes. It was early days. I mean, Kiefer was still doing off camera for the phone conversations. I mean, I don't know how long that lasted. You know what I mean? But he was like around, and I didn't have any scenes with him per se, except on the phone. But he was there doing the phone dialogue, and that's because it was the early part of the first season. I mean, that's when you're number one on the call sheet for a show like that, it's reasonable that you don't have to do that. But it was early enough that he was still doing it, and I just remember being in the barn, and I remember feeling like this is cool. Like whatever this is, I don't know what this is, but this is cool. So this is a thing.
And you were also part of another big TV phenomenon a little later that maybe wasn't quite as popular, but still, I mean, this is when I first was reviewing TV, and that's Prison Break. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's its own separate,
I
kind
mean,
of beast.
it's really funny. I feel like they go together in a major way. I mean, they were both Fox shows for one thing, but and I don't know. I mean, this is where I'm not on top of it as I should be, but I don't know who if there were how many people, if any, were of this or were same producers of those shows. I mean, there must have. I feel like there must have been some overlap, maybe higher up than I was able to sort of get into at that time or comprehend at that time. But 24 was the initiation of. It's not, you know, 4 acts and a cliffhanger at the end of the show. It was the beginning of every commercial break. Someone's life is at stake. Every commercial break is make or break, life or death, and Prison Break sort of followed that same model. So they're cut from the same cloth in terms of the hyper intensity, and you just twist city, and they were both big phenomenon. I think the Prison Break was as big for the people that it hit. It wasn't as broad of an audience, but man, I'll tell you, the people that liked that show really were into that show.
Then your next really big thing, I think, would be Grimm, which is, first of all, not on Fox, right? So big departure just right out right there. But I think also just that's much more evolved to what I think audiences, not just like today, but at least a few years ago, were really looking for.
I've been very lucky. These 3 shows, even the little, I did like 5 episodes of My Name is Earl. Also a small show, but like it had a core audience. Um, so I've been lucky that the thing, some of the, a small percentage of the enormous number of TV gigs that I've done have been major big deals for the audiences that they appealed to, and Grimm is no exception. Grimm survived because it had a really really loyal fan base, um, and yeah, it was the right thing at the right time. And it holds up. You go back and you look at some of those. That show looks really good. They really took the time to like carve up space and shoot things in a particular way, which doesn't happen that much anymore unless you've got a gargantuan budget. They tend to sort of light a giant, Netflix and everyone making so much stuff all the time, making things, and they want to shoot so many pages a day that I feel like the look really starts to suffer. Ripley is a major exception to that. I mean, Ripley is obviously like the art direction and the cinematography on that are incredible. But a lot of stuff, they kind of light the world and then just shoot everything so you can shoot 15 pages a day. And we did not do that. We shot a lot, but yeah, Grimm still looks good.
Or are there any other roles, film or television, that really stick out to you that you wish people would ask you about a lot, when you're doing interviews?
No, no, I roll with it, man. Like people dig what they dig. Every now and then you get someone who's like, "Hey, you were what did someone said the other day?" Like, oh, I can't remember something very like people remember me from Burn Notice. You know what I mean? Like just like weird, like some things just strike a chord with people. And they're like, "Hey," and it was like 20 years ago. It's like, all right, yeah, right on, man. Thank heaven
Is
for
there
reruns.
anything that you haven't done that you really would like to try in the future?
Oh, there's some theater work that I'd like to do. But again, I'm not like one of those, I'm not a visualizer manifester. I kind of stay in the present moment and let things come as they come and, keep working toward, I've got some things that I'm behind the scenes on that I'm working with, which is a new area. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of, I let the chips fall where they may, and I don't get stressed out about trying to force things in any given direction. I find that staying in the moment and allowing things to unfold is like the is where it's at for me. There's plenty of things I haven't done that I want to do, but I just don't ruminate on them.
Well, we love awards here at Awards Buzz, and I'm curious if there's anything aside from Ripley, which I know you already mentioned, that you've seen recently that you feel is particularly awards worthy.
I haven't seen that much stuff. Ripley obviously is one of them. Man, I saw Andrew Scott, speaking of Ripley, doing a one-man version of Uncle Vanya, which was through the National Theater, where they have a wonderful program where they film staged pieces, and then for about a week or so in specific theaters they show these pieces, and that was incredible. I mean, he's a wonderful actor. So that for sure. Um, but I can't think of anything right off the top of my head where I'm like, that should be an Oscar nominee. I don't know. What's for you? Let me ask you. What are the things that you've seen that you think are good, and maybe I can write them down and go see them.
Well, there's a lot of really good stuff. I've been trying to really go back and focus on a lot of the Emmy nominees. So Shogun is really
Oh,
terrific.
I've
That's
heard.
one
Yeah.
sort of just,
Is it-
apart a- apart from everything else, that one is really, really very good.
Is that Mads Mikkelsen in that?
So there's no, no, that's set in Japan.
Right, I know,
Um
but
from
isn't he the non-Japanese? Isn't Shogun
No,
isn't?
no, it's Cosmo Jarvis. He was in a movie called
Oh,
The
okay.
Promised Land recently. He's done some good stuff, but yeah, you know.
For some reason, I think I've seen one image of his face, and I thought it was Mickelson.
I don't know. He's pretty great though. But there's lots of good stuff out there, and it's always interesting to hear what people like.
You know what I have been meaning to watch, and now of course it's finishing, is but what we do in the shadows is like, I that looks incredible to me, and I haven't, I do I yeah, I don't keep up.
Well, fortunately now with streaming, sure they shoot a lot, but they also have a lot out there, so there's plenty to catch up on
Yeah, exactly,
someday in
exactly.
the future. So, well, all right, Silas, thank you so much for your time, and look forward to seeing what you do next.
Thanks a lot, Abe. Nice talking to you.